Hello and welcome, boys, girls, and NBs, to another live stream. As you may know, we have been looking at old propaganda from the Jehovah's Witness religion, and I have been thinking. I floated this idea in a couple of live streams before about watching the photodrama of creation. The photodrama of creation was a film that was very revolutionary, made by Russell in the beginning of this religion. However, even though every single Jehovah's Witness knows about the photodrama of creation and knows how it was free and knows how much technology it had and all of that stuff, very few people, if any, have ever actually watched it. So today, I thought, what a great way to be an apostate, and in the best way to be an apostate, as we know, is to learn everything about the Jehovah's Witness. So I thought we would start for the month of December. We would have this live stream where we watch the photodrama of creation together in 4 parts leading up to Christmas. Today, I'm gonna watch it by myself, but next week, I'm going to be joined by someone who is going to make this person very happy, which I have to shout out, like right out. Like, thank you so much, Meximir, I think it's how it's pronounced. He says, "Hi, Danny. You and XJW Panda are my two fave XJW YouTubers. I mean, two fave XJW YouTubers. You could have just said two fave YouTubers. I mean, just saying. You didn't have to specify. I hope to see you two collaborate together someday. That would be awesome. You are blessed to have such a cute as can be girlfriend. Thank you for all the entertainment with 50 of the big ones. Thank you so much, Max. And I think you're going to be very happy to know that I actually texted XJW Panda, and he is going to join me for if everything works out. He's going to join me for the second part. So your wish is actually coming to fruition. I texted him. He could have joined me like today, but honestly, like I texted him like last night because that's when I decided to do this. So it was on me. He could have been here today, but he's probably gonna be here by next week. So yeah, no, I really like that dude. He's a lot of fun and has double my subscribers, which I'm not jealous at all. Maxim says, "I'm a photographer, so the early synchronized sound film multimedia presentation from 1914 I find historically fascinating." I know, and this is going to be extra fascinating because the photodrama of creation was pretty revolutionary in a time where they only had black and white silent films. The photodrama of creation was a film that had color and sound, and that was free, and that was like almost 5 hours long, which is why we're dividing it into 4 parts. So it is very fascinating. I'm also fascinated about film and history and the history of film and all of that stuff. So I have always wanted to watch the photodrama of creation since I was a little kid, but I didn't know where to find it. Luckily, right now everything can be found on YouTube, and this won't even be taken down because I'm pretty sure the copyright time has passed already. So I'm pretty sure this is like completely like free of copyright. I could be wrong. I'm not completely sure, but but we're going to be watching from the photodrama of creation channel here on YouTube. I don't know who this person is, but this person uploaded a remastered version of the photodrama of creation, luckily for me, divided into 4 parts. As you can see, like I kind of just went through real quick just to find like a couple of slides to put on the thumbnail. I haven't actually watched it, so I am really excited to watch this. It suffice to say, this is probably the only time that that ex-Jehovah's Witness, or well, that Jehovah's and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses alike like watch this shit, because again, like Jehovah's Witnesses want you to know that it existed, but they don't want you to know what it says. And I think it's going to become very obvious. I don't know what it says here, but I do know what Russell believed in. So yeah, this is a great look into how XJW, into how Russell was making like sort of a religion, and it was before the Jehovah's Witnesses became Jehovah's Witnesses, like named Jehovah's Witnesses, and before the Jehovah's Witnesses became, even I would argue, a high control group. Because I mean, Russell had a lot of ideas, but Russell didn't think that his religion was like the only religion. He didn't shun anybody. Like a lot of the things that we associate with Jehovah's Witnesses and the damages of being a Jehovah's Witness, they didn't have back then. So it's going to be very interesting to take a little dip into history and watch like this bit of history that every Jehovah's Witness knows about, but no Jehovah's Witness knows what it's about. So let's get started. I don't have the book that goes along with it. I've never seen it. So yeah. This usually I would be watching this by myself. And this is the kind of thing that like the kind of research that I do before I make a video. I'm thinking about maybe even making a video about the photodrama of creation with like, you know, the highlights, so people don't have to sit for like what's going to be like over like 6 hours, and people can know what it's about for in like half an hour. But this is how I do my research. So I thought, why not do research right here with you? All those arriving late may remain for the next show. Okay. I thought that was like a Russell thing, but no, that was just instructions. He's asking ladies to remove their hats. Oh, hold on. We're not gonna play it in. We're gonna play again. We're gonna put it. I think we can put it in 1.25, right? 1.25. Like it's just because it's slow and it's from the past, so it's even extra slow. The governor with 10 big ones says it cost $300,000 to make in 1914. 9,200,000 in today's dollars. I haven't checked this, but if the government is right, that is insane. Like it costs almost this 10 million. Like, I mean, it sounds accurate because you know, I guess this has nothing. I guess this is just silent still. Maxim says that was a filling into the theater cards on the screen. Okay, so perfect. So I guess this is just like a pre-intermission. I don't know. I've never seen a movie that is this old, I'm pretty sure. Like I think I've seen like a couple just like for research and stuff, but not like this. Anyway, while we do this, obviously I'm not going to be sober because why would I be? So there you go. Let's start rolling. That's what he thought paradise was going to be with that car. Under vine and fig tree. Let's put it a little bit faster. All right, like, come on, this is a little bit slow. I mean, those are kind of nice. You would have to imagine that this would be kind of cool to watch because I mean, you hadn't really seen images this big in color before. We are definitely gonna enjoy. Thank you so much, Amanda G with $9.99 super sticker. Thank you so much, Amanda. Oh, finally, okay, sound.
The Photodrama of Creation is presented by the IBSA, the International Bible Students Association. Its aim is public instruction along religio-scientific lines and in defense of the Bible as the inspired Word of God. Many claim that each of its parts is more helpful than a year in college, or the 4 parts equal to 4 years or more. We trust that this may prove to be so for everyone now present. As supporters of the enterprise, we reply that it's purely philanthropic. It is supported fully by voluntary contributions, and these come from Bible students who themselves greatly benefited, are desirous of passing the blessing on to other hearts and heads. Surely the value of an intelligent knowledge of God and the Bible is inestimable. The Photodrama of Creation presents the 7 days of creation as 7 epochs, each 7,000 years long, and the 7th day as not yet complete. In this view, 1,000 years of the 7th day remain, during which Earth and her population will reach the grand perfection designed by the Creator. It is held that this final 1,000 years has already begun. To this fact is accredited the great progress of our day, intellectually and materially. In other words, the great 7th day of the Genesis account is itself a great week, each day of which is 1,000 years long. The 6 already past have been man's work week of struggle against sin and death under the curse pronounced in Eden. Now the great
Okay, I can barely understand. I'm trying to like really like get to hear like what he's saying. I am barely understand. Like, it just sounds like the few things that I understand. I kind of like remember like what they taught in Russell. Like he's just talking about how he believed that we were like in 1,000 period 1,000 year periods of days. So he thought that we were in the seventh day that was 1,000 years long, and he's just talking. But Dave K has a really good a point. I don't think this is Jehovah's Witness speaking cadence. This is pre Jehovah's Witness speaking cadence. So yeah, I'm gonna say for the next chelas, I'm gonna drink a chela right now. Think for the awareness you bring. You were one of the big reasons I woke up. I don't thank you so much, but I think you were one of the big reasons you woke up. I was just there. You know, if I hadn't been there, I think you would have woken up just fine. But thank you. I'm happy that I'm part of people's journeys. Yeah, Maxim is going to be like our documentarian here. Maxim is saying no microphones back then, strictly acoustic through a horn like early sound recordings. That is why it is hard to understand. Man, no one like couldn't they have record like yeah, I know that there weren't any microphones, but couldn't have they like grab like their phone and just be like just speak into this like right? Like just speak onto the cell phone. There's so many apps, right? Why didn't they do that? Let's see what he says.
faith Sabbath is beginning. It God has promised that the curse shall roll away from before the blessings of Messiah's kingdom, for which so long we have prayed, thy kingdom come, and of which we have so often sung as the sweet by and by.
God's glory in the heavens. The reverence of Jehovah is the beginning of wisdom. Only the foolish say in their hearts, there is no God. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. The heavens declare the glory of God. An appreciation of the infinite power of the Creator and of our own littleness should make us teachable. The study of creation is the key of knowledge. Using this key, we begin to realize that the only worthy ambition is to cooperate with our Creator's beneficent designs respecting His creation. The planets of our system, compared with our sun, are as nothing. Imagine the sun's diameter that of a large flour barrel. Jupiter would compare as a small orange, Earth and Venus as peas, and Mercury and Mars as raspberry seeds. The sun is 300,000 times the size of our Earth. 30 miles an hour could go around the Earth in 1 month, but nearly 10 years would be required for it to travel the circumference of the sun. Our day and night are the result of the Earth's rotation on its own axis, while its motion around the sun marks our year. Planets nearer the sun have shorter orbits and hence shorter years, while remote ones have longer years. A year on the planet Mercury would equal 3 of our months. On Neptune, farthest off, a year equals 1. Yet our sun is only one of the fixed stars, of which the most up-to-date astronomical methods estimate there are 125 million. Around each of these fixed stars undoubtedly revolves a planetary system like our own. Thus reckoned, there are 1,000 million worlds. Even this is not the limit. If we should stand upon the farthest and dimmest star, we should no doubt from there see as many more beyond. We are appalled at the greatness of the universe. The zodiacal signs illustrate various sections of the heavens.
What? Oh my God! I was just gonna say, man, this is all pretty scientific. Like, and they're even like hinting that there may be like other Earths with like other people and whatever. Thank you, Queen of Flatlands, for the $10. Treat yourself. Thank you so much. You're already a patron, so you're already helping me to treat myself. So yeah, they go to like all of this like scientific stuff that I'm like, wow. I mean, I'm pretty sure this was pretty new back then, right? Like they hadn't known this for like all this time, like all of these stars and the size of the sun and all that stuff. And then they were like, anyway, so the zodiac is the 12 zodiac signs. let's see what they say about it.
Season. The first day or epoch. The Genesis account tells nothing about the formation of the earth itself. It says in.
By the way, the only thing that I know about this, because I just went through like the just through the thing real quick, and I read a little bit on the history. The only thing that I know about like this part at least is that this part is just gonna talk about like how the Earth was created. Remember, this is the photodrama of creation. The photodrama of creation. I should have explained it in advance, but photodrama of creation is obviously how Russell thought that the whole Earth was that the whole universe was created from the beginning down to like modernish days. So there are going to be things that Jehovah's Witnesses no longer believe in. And weirdly enough, like I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of things that are going to be very unscientific. But besides the zodiac signs, like we haven't seen that many unscientific things at all yet. I think just like Jehovah's Witnesses, they were like, we're going to push the scientific first, like the scientific stuff first to give us credibility. And then we're going to pack like the crazy stuff like towards the tail end. So when people are like, no, these people are trustworthy.
In the beginning, the earth was without form and void, shapeless, empty. There were neither mountains nor valleys, trees nor shrubs, rivers nor oceans, but the earth was. How long before that it had been created is not stated. The account of the days of creation given in Genesis relates not to the construction of our globe, but to the ordering of it for human habitation. There are various theories regarding its formation. We follow the one most closely harmonizing with the Bible. It is called the Valian theory. It assumes that Saturn's rings and Jupiter's belts illustrate Earth's development as a planet. The Earth was once molten, as indicated by the igneous rocks of the Azoic period, so called by scientists, but not discussed in the Bible. When the Earth was molten, its water and minerals were thrown off a great distance in gaseous form. As these cooled and took shape, they constituted great rings at a distance from the Earth. Gradually, the motion of the rings became different from that of the Earth in proportion to the distance from the center of gravity. These rings of water and minerals, gradually approaching the Earth, would be kept off by centrifugal force, particularly strong at the equator.
Okay, so we got to the unscientific part already. Jehovah's Witnesses, especially Russell, believed that the Earth had rings, and that one of those rings had actually caused the Great Flood. One of those rings had been water, and that's where all the extra water came from. That's how they didn't have water, and then they got flooded. He doesn't explain where the water went afterwards, because I mean, if you fill up the Earth, like there's no other way for the water to go. Like it's like if I fill up like this water thing, right? Like this water cup. If I fill it up, the water can't go anywhere anymore. It's not gonna drain away. It's there. It has nothing to drain away to. So yeah, they believe the Earth had rings, and I mean, look. Is it unscientific? Of course it is. We know that the Earth did not have rings. We know that. But it's kind of cool, right? I mean, am I the only one who thinks that the Earth would be like a far cooler planet if it had rings? I had always, since I learned about Saturn when I was like 4 or 5, I was like, man, we got cucked. We did not have the rings. Like we could have had rings, and then we yet don't have rings. It's just what a boring planet.
The brooding of holy energy developed a light, probably resembling the aurora borealis, not sunlight. The sun did not appear until the 4th day. Let there be light, and there was light. Thus briefly is summed up the result of the 7,000 years.
Wait, did he said that the Earth formed, but then the sun wasn't there until later? Like the Earth formed first. Around what? We don't. Who knows? I don't know. Like we don't know how the Earth formed, or what forces acted for the Earth to form like that. But the Earth formed first, and then the sun formed. Sure.
Styled the first day. Not that God's word would not have been sufficient for any miracle, but because he prefers to work out his glorious designs along natural lines. There are scientists who claim that the Earth still has one ring about it, an electrical ring, which, falling, will in a few years destroy fermentation, microbes, and parasites, and greatly assist plant and animal life.
That's how Russell thought that paradise was going to come. The last ring was gonna come in, and it was going to kill all parasites and all bacteria, and it was going to be great for plants, because obviously bacteria can only be wrong. And it was going to be great for plants, and then the paradise was going to come because of this last electric invisible ring that formed before the sun was formed. So yeah.
The second day or epoch. The expressions evening and morning and day cannot be understood to signify 24-hour days, for neither sun nor moon was visible until the 4th day. The earth was swathed in impenetrable darkness. The word day applies to any period or epoch. as, for instance, the day of temptation in the wilderness, 40 years. Note again that we read of the day of Christ, evidently referring to the 1,000-year day in which Messiah is to be king over all the earth. In the common affairs of life, we use the word day similarly when referring to Caesar's day, Napoleon's day, etc. We follow the theory that each of the 7 days of the created week was a period of 7,000 years. This 7 times 7,000 equals 49,000 years, ushering in a grand jubilee epoch. As one after another the encircling rings of water and minerals approached the earth, they would spread out like a great canopy, but would not be permitted to fall upon the earth because of the circumambient air referred to in Scripture as a firmament. Saturn's rings have not yet fallen. God made the firmament in the second or Paleozoic day and separated the...
What? Saturn's rings have not yet fallen? He's like, so the earth had rings that formed before the sun, obviously, and then that's the rings fell, and that's what it helped like the earth form. And obviously, like Saturn's rings, they're obviously gonna fall, and they're gonna form, like they're gonna transform the planet equally. But they haven't done that yet. Jesus Christ. Okay, I did not know that it became this unscientific this fast. Like, I thought that it was gonna be towards the tail end. No, it was just like since the beginning.
Waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. The strongly mineralized waters above the earth, held off by the firmament and centrifugal force, greatest at the equator, gradually concentrated at the 2 poles, where later they broke and reached the earth, forming layer after layer of mineralized earth deposited by the water, which rushed from both poles toward the equator. These rings or belts of water and minerals followed each other as great deluges upon the earth, perhaps thousands of years apart. The deluge of Noah's day was the last, of pure water only, heavier minerals being attracted first. Hence, minerals are generally under several layers of shale and soil. The 3rd day or epoch. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land of the earth appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he sea. And the evening and the morning were the 3rd day. The beautiful simplicity of this statement might mislead us into thinking that the gathering together of the oceans and the erection of the mountains were works of magic. While divine operations are all great and wonderful, they are usually accomplished by reasonable methods, called the course of nature. And nature's course must be marked out by nature's God.
I love it. I love it. Russell is like, yeah, so some people think that mountains came to be by magic, which, you know, obviously God can do magic, obviously. But come on, it's obviously not like that. Like, God obviously used natural energies to do it. They didn't race like mad. Don't be ridiculous, everybody. Obviously, this was after the rings of Earth like fell into the Earth, though. But don't be ridiculous. Don't be anti-scientific.
The ring theory of cosmogony is that several rings had precipitated themselves upon the Earth during this 3rd epoch day. These, according to the divine intention, so increased the pressure on the crust of the earth as to...
Exactly. Watchtower will not put this entire thing on the website because they're not proud of it. They just like to pretend that they're proud of it. But imagine, like, you don't have to sit here for long to realize that the shit that they're teaching, and, you know, it's just about, like, one thing, like a creation, right? One topic. But the shit that they're teaching is very clearly not what Jehovah's Witnesses believe in. Also, what the hell is wrong with these mountains? Like, this is supposed to be Mexico and South America, and look at the size of these mountains. Like, Jesus, look at this. This goes up into the stratosphere. This is insane. Why did they draw the mountains like this? This is okay. Land appears. I think they were like they were trying to picture, like, what we're seeing here is like the South African continent rising up from the sea. And they were like, it's going to rise up these mountains first. But if this hasn't even finished rising up, imagine how tall these mountains are going to be. These mountains are going to be the tallest in the solar system.
Deposits to buckle or wrinkle. These depressions became ocean beds, and the upheavals became mountain ranges. Thus was the work of the 3rd day accomplished. The waters were gathered into seas and oceans. The dry land was upheaved and began gradually to drain off in preparation for vegetation. This draining must have required a long time. We need not assume that all the continents, as we now know them, were thrown up on the 3rd epoch day. In all probability, the American continent was thrown up much later than were Europe, Asia, and Africa. Earthquake disturbances in our day have changed the surface of the land. They give us a reasonable conception of how the divine command was executed on the third day preparatory to earth vegetation. Appropriately we next read, and the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit. That is to say, vegetation began on the third of Carboniferous day, though it did not reach its perfection until after the light of the sun penetrated. There are grasses and other vegetation which prosper best in darksome shade. The fourth day or epoch, and God made...
You know, the one thing that I would add is just subtitles, because this doesn't even have like closed captions or anything. If I was making a video about this, I would have to add subtitles, because this is almost unhearable. But yeah, so far just a lot of unscientific stuff, and it has just started. Creation has just started. Where is it? What do you mean apostate ministry school saying where is this in the Bible? As opposed to their current doctrine? What are you talking about? This is as based in the Bible as what they believed in right now. This as the overlapping generation and shit. Come on.
Two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. It is not necessary to suppose that the sun and the moon were created after our earth. Instead, there is a much more reasonable way of viewing the matter. The sun, the moon, and the stars were created long before, but had never up to this time cast their light upon the earth because of the impenetrable veil which canopy did.
That's how Jehovah's Witnesses still believe that there was still darkness in the earth, even though like at first there was light and then there was the sun or whatever. So the light was first, but then there was a canopy that prevented light to peer through, which is how you get to like create light and then create the sun. Because it wasn't created, it just appeared to be created if you were standing on the earth at that moment. So it's just a convoluted thing, and it's kind of weird to see that it has been this convoluted since the beginning.
The appearance of the sun and the moon on the fourth day implies that another ring broke at that time and precipitated its great mass of water and mineral upon the earth. Great gullies were washed between the mountains. The atmosphere, heavily charged with carbon, was very favorable to the development of plant life. It is supposed that the earth still had considerable heat in its crust, that oceans were warm and highly carboniferous, and that the air was surcharged with carbon to the extent that no breathing animal could have existed. But those very conditions were extremely favorable to gigantic growth of vegetation. This giant vegetation presumably passed into a condition resembling that of the peat beds of our day. These beds of incipient coal afterwards came under great pressure, as one after another the rings of earth came down in deluges, burying vegetation under slimy deposits. Our coal fields are the result. We are not to assume that the sun and the moon shone on the earth then as now, but they were discernible even through heavy banks of fog and carbon-laden atmosphere. The influences of the sun and the moon were necessary to prepare for higher forms of plant and animal life. We may as properly lay stress on the word rule as on the word made in this text. God caused the sun to rule the day and the moon to rule the night. Besides, symbolically, it is claimed that the moon represents the law covenant rule and the sun the new covenant rule.
This is all so extremely unscientific, obviously, but it kind of just this rings similar to how Jehovah's Witnesses teach their doctrine nowadays, because nowadays the only doctrine they teach, the way that they teach the doctrine is try to read the Bible and then interpret the Bible and read a little bit more on top of it, and to be inevitably wrong. And this is what Russell was doing. He read the Bible and he was like, well, clearly, like the Bible says that it was an atmosphere very high in carbon because plants love carbon. So animals didn't exist, but there were lots of plants. Like, it's not that accurate. Thank you, the governor. We need to record it with Jake from Outworldly narrating. Oh my God, yes, please, with his how do you call it? Pacific accent, transatlantic accent, whatever the accent.
The fifth day or epoch. The carboniferous qualities of the water and atmosphere having been absorbed into the Cretaceous organisms of the sea, which formed beds of limestone, and into the rank vegetation which went to form the coal beds, the atmosphere of Earth began to be pure enough to permit life in breathing animals. To this,
obviously, even though life did originate in the sea, this is not how prehistoric fish look like. These are way too developed. Like look at all of this variety. This is what people creationists would like you to believe, that it just kind of all of this variety just appeared out of nowhere, which that's not how what the record shows. The record shows that back then it started with, when fish started to appear, they were very primitive, and they slowly evolved into all of the fishes that we see today, with the proper eyes and the proper like teeth and the proper like propulsion, all of that stuff. So yeah, obviously that this is unscientific, and I think this is unscientific because I don't even recognize half of these fishes.
This period, therefore, belong the amphibious development of animal life, such as the crocodile and other animals which can live either on land or in the water. Birds belong to this period, and in the latter part of it appeared the great mammoth and the sloth.
Birds belong to the same period as fishes? What? Birds belong to the same period as fishes, sure.
Conflict between evolution and the Bible has been sharp. Nevertheless, unnecessary friction has been generated. Only in respect to man does the Bible declare a special direct creation of God. The statements of Genesis in respect to the lower creatures rather favor something along the lines of specialized evolution. God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth." This is exactly in harmony with our scientific findings, that the beginning of life came from the waters, and later extended to the birds, and later to land animals.
I love it. We know that fish came and with birds at the same time, and because we know it from science. We know it from science that life came from water, so it proved the Bible.
Darwinian theory has disappointed those who swallowed it without a sufficiency of demonstration as to its truth. Recent demonstrations show that every mixture of species and kinds, even where partly successful, means a reversion to the original standards within the third or fourth generation in plants, flowers, fruits, and in animals.
I gotta say, this is a really good Stegosaurus. Like, this is really good. How did they do this? It looks almost photorealistic. Like, is it like, did they make like a miniature, or is this did they somehow draw it? Like, this is computer generated. Like, this is really good looking. I enjoy looking at this. It's, it's not super accurate, obviously, but I mean, you have to believe, you have to think that back then in 1914, people hadn't really seen more than maybe a sketch of a Stegosaurus. So this is pretty nice. This is pretty dope.
Even where partly successful, means a reversion to the original standards within the third or fourth generation in plants, flowers, fruits, and in animals. The correct thought would seem to be that under divine supervision, various orders of creation were brought to a state of development and effectivity of species, not to be turned aside nor thereafter altered. Not one suggestion is offered respecting human evolution from a lower creature, but quite the contrary. The Bible furnishes merely a basis for faith, that the man of God may be thoroughly equipped.
Come on, if I was a kid watching this like back then, this would be my jam. Like, I would be like, there's so many dinosaurs. I saw all of the dinosaurs. There were so many. Like, they look so real. It was a photo of dinosaurs. This looks really good. Like, this looks better, way better. No one, like, it does look like it cost $10 million. Like, it for the time. Like, it does look very good, especially because remember, back then they only had silent black and white films. So this would have been extremely revolutionary. Like, sure, right now we complain about the audio and, it's not like a super HD, but for the time, it would have been pretty revolutionary. And I think that people would have definitely wanted to know more about this or to buy his books, because even though it's really unscientific, how are you going to fact check it? It's not like you can bring up your phone and Google the facts, right? Like, this sounds pretty scientific-ish and it looks pretty real. So I think it could have fooled a lot of people.
Day or epoch. As the carbon-laden atmosphere became more pure, vegetation became less rank. The animals changed correspondingly. The heavy bone sloth and mammoth gave place to less bony varieties of animals common today. The specialization in the case of man's creation is shown in his vast superiority over the lower animals. The first man, Adam, was an image of his creator. the highest type of fleshly or animal being. That image of his creator consisted in his moral and intellectual likeness. It is difficult to judge from present human conditions all that is meant by God's image, because we have no sample of perfect humanity for comparison. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God in which Adam was created. Sin and death have reigned, and the God-likeness has been lost. All need restitution. It was toward the close of the sixth day, or approximately...
I was wondering about this because there's so many like boings throughout, and Maxim is coming out as like, as a documentarian he is, the boing is a prompt for the lantern slide projector operator to go to the next slide. Oh, that of course, because obviously like projecting a movie was a far more involved process than just hitting play, right? You had to like go through different slides, and oh my God, of course. I was wondering what that was.
42,000 years from the time of beginning the ordering of earth that God created man. The image of God from this standpoint would mean a human being thoroughly in tune with the Infinite one that would have no unrighteousness nor iniquity in him. Adam's transgression was not the result of ignorance nor of pure willfulness. It was the result of temptation, which his limited knowledge accentuated. His responsibility was for the knowledge he possessed. He knew that he was...
Yeah, I'll have to remember what Apostle Ministry School says. This is also free, and if you bought the book, you got a better seat. That is true. And if you were Black, you got a worse seat. That is also true. Russell, he wasn't like super racist, especially if you take into account when he lived. He was surprisingly not that racist. But when they were showing the photodrama of creation, he got like complaints because white people didn't like to sit next to Black people, right? Because you know it was it was 1914, right? So he segregated, even though he didn't need to segregate anything. He segregated the theater by giving the best seats in the front to white people, and then the worst seats in the back to Black people, as to not offend the racists. So yeah, you know, he wasn't like super racist, but he's like, I still want all of the racists though. Like the racists may have a point. So yeah, but yeah, it definitely. I'm just amazed because it looks kind of beautiful. Like you can see that a lot of work and care went into every single slide, and it's really well made.
Disobeying God. When thinking of man in the image of God, we instinctively look back to the man Christ Jesus, holy, harmless, undefiled, and separate from sinners, and like the first Adam.
Ideal likeness of Adam. Like this is how Adam looked like, you guys. Adam was white. Adam was white and had a beard. Sure. It's so stupid to think that the humans were like this. Very obviously, like the first humans were Black. Like white, the lack of pigmentation is a mutation. It makes you more prone to diseases and shit. Like it's not a feature, right? Like it's not like the best kind of skin. Like I've always thought, and I don't know if this is gonna land me in hot water, but I've always thought that if we were gonna think of like the superior kind of like Ubermensch or whatever, like he would have to be Black, right? Because Black skin like inherently is better. Like you have less chances of like having skin cancer and like skin disease, and you don't have to wear sunblock or anything. Like it's just, if we weren't like racist, we would recognize like Black skin for like the extra features it has, right? Like so it's just very stupid to see, oh yeah, the first man definitely Caucasian. You get definitely Caucasian with all of the we could say like mutations that a Caucasian man has. I mean, he's even balding a little bit. Come on, like, are you gonna tell me that the first man, like the perfect man, was balding already?
Penalty he came into the world to meet. After our likeness, let him have dominion. Adam's dominion over the lower animals was like God's dominion over the universe. Angels, although in God's image, do not have a godlike dominion over.
I know. But what I'm saying is, the whiter you are, the easier you're going to get burned if you don't wear sunscreen. Like, of course the sun is terrible for everybody and for every skin, right? But your skin can become significantly more prone to damage the lighter you are. Like, it's just I didn't mean that, black people didn't need to take care of their skin. Obviously, I'm just saying the whiter you are, the more prone you are to getting a sunburn. And getting sunburns just suck. It's the worst.
Creatures of a lower order. Man's dominion, overthrown by sin, is to be restored by Messiah's kingdom. The seventh day or epoch. In this presentation, we are following a
This is what Jehovah's Witnesses don't want you to know. They actually have this. I used to have it on the thing, but I guess I closed it. They have this FAQ on the website called "Are Jehovah's Witnesses creationists?" And they say no. Jehovah's Witnesses are not creationists because Jehovah's Witnesses totally believe in science and blah blah blah. They don't really believe that, and we can make a video about when Jehovah's Witnesses actually believe that the earth was created. They believe that the earth was created like thousands of years ago, not millions of years ago. And this is kind of like the basis of it. Originally, they believed that the earth was, they were kind of like even young earth creationists, you can argue, because they believe that the earth, even though they're not like, they didn't believe that the earth was like 5,000 years old, they did believe that the earth was 50,000 years old, which, it's not that better. Like, it's not that much better. Like, thinking that the earth that is like, just like billions of years old is just 50,000 years old is just, it's still pretty much being a young earth creationist. So yeah, it's just Jehovah's Witnesses some still believe in this, but they don't believe in this out loud. It's like one of those vestigial teachings.
Line of thought which seems to be growing in acceptance among Bible students. We are living in the seventh creative epoch or day that began where the sixth day closed, after God had created Adam in his own image and likeness. God there rested from his work, from creating. He foreknew the permission of sin and its dire effects upon humanity. He foreknew the steps he would take in providing ultimately a Redeemer for the race, and that the Redeemer would select a little company of believers, figuratively styled the bride of Christ. To this Redeemer and his bride, God intended to give the dominion, control of earth. God purposed that Messiah's kingdom of righteousness should eventually uplift the willing and obedient from sin and death conditions. God rested from his work of creating in that he did not actively employ his power to overthrow sin and uplift mankind. God rested the matter in the hands of the Redeemer, Jesus, to be accomplished through his sacrifice for sins and his glorious reign for the release of mankind from sin and death. The church, God's new creation of this rest period, is heavenly, not earthly. It is claimed that according to the Bible chronology, 6,000...
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but everybody's noticing like the eye on the top of like what looks like a pyramid. And Russell did believe in pyramidology and had like a whole bunch of things surrounding pyramidology. So I thought that maybe this was just a coincidence, but yeah, like the more people notice it, the more I'm like, maybe this wasn't a coincidence. Maybe this was totally on purpose. Oh, come on.
1,000 years from Adam have already passed. If so, the 1,000 years of Messiah's reign, which is to close the great seventh epoch day, is near at hand. According to this beautiful theory, the work of Messiah in his 1,000-year reign soon to begin will complete the creation. Not only will the race be brought to human perfection, but incidentally man will have obtained the needed experience in respect to good and evil. Meantime also, the earth will be gradually coming to a state of perfection. Paradise restored worldwide. Both human perfection and the perfection of the earth were fittingly represented in Eden, when Adam was in his Maker's image. As the creation of Adam was at the close of the sixth day, the creation of Mother Eve is indicated as having been accomplished in the beginning.
Obviously, these are the perfect beings that were created in the beginning. Like this is Adam after God did a little surgery on him to make a clone, but that was a female for Adam for some reason. And obviously, the Eve was blonde. You know, she lacked pigmentation, a lot of pigmentation in her hair, because that is obviously a feature and not a mutation. And you know, she's a little bit plump, which I kind of like. You know, very body positive. I love it.
Beginning of the seventh day. However we view the matter, the first pair were created approximately in the beginning of the seventh day or epoch, which is now nearly completed. Mother Eve was merely a portion of Adam, separated from him for a special purpose, for the propagation of a race. Adam
Where did he get the blanket? The same place he got the woman. Just magic. Like, seriously, a woman just appeared, and you're worried about where the blanket came from? You're focusing on the wrong stuff.
possessed originally in his own person the qualities masculine and feminine, which subsequently were divided between him and his wife when she was taken from his side. Adam for a time was alone in Eden, finding no congenial companionship in the beast and the bird. Mother Eve was his mate, bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh. Their very difference of quality and disposition made them the more companionable to each other, because each found in the other the desired complement. They twain were one. Neither one was complete without the other. The feminine qualities of Adam's perfection he still possessed in Mother Eve. Adam was the father of the race and failed to give it life.
Wait, so is he saying that Adam originally had both male and female qualities, and then his female qualities got taken and like extracted into Eve? So originally Adam was the original non-binary folk? Like, it was the original non-binary person, right? Because, or he could, or at least like the original gender fluid, right? I mean, this is very pro queer. I like it.
Jesus is to become its second father, the second Adam, through whom everlasting life may be attained. Eve was associated with Adam in the sin and disobedience which brought the penalty. So the elect church, the bride of Christ, when completed, glorified, will be his joint heir in his kingdom, and his associate in
Governor brings $4.99 and says, when I studied Paradise was in the early 1960s, each day was 7,000 years and the earth was 42,000 years old. Not maybe. So yeah, I guess this Russell creation is kind of thing. Like, I guess it's still, there must be a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, the older generation of Jehovah's Witnesses that may still believe that the earth is 42,000 years old, which is why whenever they talk about how old the Bible is, the earth is, they always say that it's thousands of years old. Even I can't even remember what one time which speech it was, but it was Ron Carson who said that the earth was thousands of years old, which is, it makes sense if you realize that this is kind of what Jehovah's Witnesses believe. It's kind of like a vestigial part of their doctrine that they never kind of really got rid of. They kind of just hope that the old generation just like dies off and just forgets, and they can just believe in science now.
the regeneration of the world during his messianic reign. Another suggestion has been offered. Jesus declared that those who attain to that resurrection will neither marry nor be given in marriage. As Adam originally possessed all the qualities of character, masculine and feminine, so humanity, when fully restored to the image and likeness of God, will reattain perfection of individuality. Sex divisions will then be no more. Earth will be filled with sufficient population.
That's crazy! That's great! Did you guys hear that? So he's saying, since just like Adam, before he had Eve, was like both male and female, so will future humans, when they reach perfection, future humans will regain either their masculinity or their femininity, wherever they're missing, and will become like an all-encompassing human, both male and female. That's crazy. That is a crazy thing. Like, so pro trans and whatever. Like, this would be. I feel like this would even like get a lot more religious people mad now that we know more about like trans people and how they exist. Because before it was like trans people were so like invisible, right, by society, that some religious fanatic could just be like, oh, Adam was actually both male and female, and if we were perfect, we would all be equally male and female. And that's God's original plan, for us to be this kind of like non-binary, multi-encompassing human, that has all qualities of both masculinity and femininity. That's just crazy. I did not think that we were gonna hear something this crazy this fast. It's insane. I didn't know that this was like, I remember that there was this video by the Blue Envelope channel where he talks about how Jehovah's Witnesses believe that they will become genderless in paradise. But I didn't know that Russell literally taught that we would become like all genders in paradise, that we will regain our masculinity or femininity, whatever is missing, and we would just become like this. Did Russell just want to go fuck himself? Like, is that what was going on? Let's just keep watching.
Mother Eve beguiled. The New Testament bears out the story of Genesis, of Mother Eve's deception, and that Father Adam yielded to disobedience through her influence. St. Paul declares that Adam was not deceived, and that he therefore had the greater responsibility. The scriptures everywhere portray that it is through Adam's disobedience that the condemnation passed upon his entire race. He was its responsible head. By one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men. The Bible account tells of Mother Eve's thirst for knowledge, and of Satan's taking advantage of this, beguiling her into disobedience. We need not suppose that the serpent spoke audibly. Rather, as we say, actions speak louder than words. It is probable that the serpent spoke in this manner. God had authorized our first parents to freely eat of all the fruits of paradise, except of the species called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It was forbidden for a time as a test of their loyalty. The eating of the fruit of this tree, they were forewarned, would bring upon them the curse, the death sentence. The serpent ate of various fruits, and seemed especially fond of the forbidden fruit. Observation proved that the fruit did not kill the serpent, and the inference drawn by Mother Eve was that God had forbidden the use of the very best tree in Eden. Her conclusion was that God had a selfish motive in forbidding the use of that fruit, that he feared his creatures would become as wise as himself. Mother Eve did not broach these suspicions to her husband. She would eat, acquire the knowledge God was withholding, and then assist Adam to it. Adam realized the seriousness of Eve's disobedience. He thought of the long days before he had her companionship. Now he would be lonely again. In desperation, Adam determined to join Eve in the sin and its penalty. Adam's death was a slow suicide. His dying lasted 930 years. Expulsion from Eden. The word of God must stand, whether it be the word promising eternal life or the sentence of death. There is no variableness with him, neither shadow of turning. The curse, the death sentence foretold by the Lord, was executed, but not instantly. Adam was not stricken lifeless with a thunderbolt. From the very beginning, God foreknew all, and had planned the redemption of Adam, Eve, and their children. To this end, Jesus came and died, the just for the unjust. As a result, ultimately, the curse of death will be removed. There shall be no more curse, no more dying, sighing, or crying, nor any more pain.
Whoa.
All of us were told, and many of us believed fully, that the penalty of Father Adam's disobedience was eternal torture, in which all of his posterity must share except a few.
This is the most cartoonish hell Jehovah's Witnesses have ever drawn, right? Look at it. Like, I kind of love this devil. Like, he's not even red. He's like Mexican pink, and he looks kind of like, I don't know, like he's giving a little bit of gay vibes. Do you feel? He's like, hey, you guys over here. Like, I don't know. I kind of like it. I kind of dig it. But obviously, I bet Russell's gonna be like, that's what the people in the past believe. The people in the other religions think that there is Adam and Eve are suffering forever. But obviously, that's not true. What's true is that Jehovah is gonna genocide everybody. That's better.
The saintly, the elect. Told that this was the teaching of the Bible, we accepted without proof. Now, Christian people examine their Bibles more carefully. They find that the curse or penalty for sin is a totally different one. The wages of sin is death. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. This penalty of death has rested against Adam and his family for 6,000 years. It has brought sorrow, sighing, pain, and trouble. It has blighted our lives, mentally, morally, and physically. It is this curse of death that was pronounced against Father Adam, according to the Genesis account, and also
I'm not as
according to
good
the New
as
Testament.
Jake, though.
Accursed is the earth for thy sake. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth unto thee. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, until thou return unto the ground from whence thou wast taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. It is from this curse that Jesus redeemed us by dying, the just for the unjust. It is from this death curse that Messiah rescues all by a resurrection from the dead. By man came death, by man also the resurrection of the dead. Pride,
Jesus
jealousy,
Christ. I love how white all of these like perfect and near perfect humans are. Like it's just they are extremely like, are you kidding me? How can they even be this white? They spent a lot of time under the sun and they didn't have sunblock. Like we now know that everybody needs sunblocks, but they especially needed sunblock. How the hell were they this white? Like, wouldn't they at least be like kind of like super red? Like if they were this white, like wouldn't you draw them red to just because they were where they were under the sun all the time?
anger, murder. No children were born to Adam and Eve in Eden. They labored with sweat of face for quite a time before their firstborn came. Doubtless he was birthmarked with a jealous, unhappy disposition. Toil conduced to fretfulness in those who knew a happier lot in Eden. Fault finding with each other, resentment against the Creator, discontent with their lot probably marked their offspring Cain. The world has since been under a reign of sin and death. Daughters also were born to them, and later another son, Abel, of a very different disposition from their firstborn. The experience of life may have mellowed their hearts. They remembered an intimation of hope connected with their sentence, namely, that the seed of the woman should bruise the serpent's head. Abel's disposition indicates that he had a contrite heart and desired to please God. If parents realize to what extent mental conditions affect their offspring, all would strive to bestow favorable birth rates on their children. Years passed. Cain and Abel were
Maxim, come on, you're very good at like old timey technology for cinema and shit, but you're really ignorant on this stuff. Obviously, genetic inbreeding problems didn't apply to the children of Adam and Eve because Adam and Eve were very close to perfection. Okay, they were very close to perfection, so therefore they could, you know, their kids could like fuck each other and they wouldn't develop like this ugly chins and, you know, like this like inbreeding problem because they were close to perfect. That's why they lived for like hundreds of years. Have you not read the Bible? We used to live for hundreds of years before.
inspired by the promise respecting the seed of the woman and the hope for recovery by divine favor. They approached the Lord with offerings to receive a blessing. Abel's sacrifice of animal life God accepted because it
Oh,
typified the necessity for
look at that! Look, oh, this is also why Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't have this, because Jehovah's Witnesses will die on the hill that that Jesus didn't die on a cross. Jesus died on a stick. Why? I don't know. It's one of those things that I'd love to make a video about because I think it's kind of odd. Like Jehovah's Witnesses have just chosen like this thing that is just completely ahistorical happened, right? Because of Staudos and how it was used and whatever. I don't know why exactly, And I bet there's probably like a petty reason behind. I don't know exactly why, but I'm kind of, this is one of those. I'm learning a lot about like this religion, because we really don't know that much about what we used to believe when we were Jehovah's Witnesses. So yeah, this is they nowadays you would never see this. This would Jehovah's Witnesses are like extremely superstitious, so they wouldn't even have anything with a cross. And I think that even this would be like kind of icky to have. I don't know. Like, if could a Jehovah's Witness get this printed and framed in their house and being like it's from the drama of creation? Could a Jehovah's Witness get away with doing this? I don't think so.
Jesus' death as the basis for forgiveness of sin. God's rejection of Cain's offering teaches that without shedding of blood there can be no remission of sin. Cain should have procured an animal for acceptable sacrifice in obedience to the divine will. Instead, he allowed anger, malice, hatred, and strife to burn in his heart and became a murderer. St. Paul says that Abel's blood cried to God for justice against Cain, but Jesus' blood cried to God for mercy on the sinner. Every injustice cries to God for justice. By a special covenant, Jesus and his elect church lay down their lives sacrificially for Adam and his race. The better sacrifice is completed, restitution follows.
I gotta love how people are dressed like in the old times. They just have like a piece of fabric, because Russell was probably like, yeah, obviously they didn't have sewing machines back then, so they couldn't sew the pieces of fabric. They just had pieces of fabric. How could they sew it into pants if they didn't have sewing machines? It was just they just had the pieces of fabric to get around their penis, so we can show this to children.
What we have just seen surely has broadened our conception of our great Creator's wisdom, justice, power, and love. Let us arise and reverently join in one verse of that beautiful hymn, Nearer, my God, to thee, nearer to thee.
Abel, the first martyr. The word martyr signifies witness.
Come on. Are you kidding me? Like, the dude that's like the good dude is like it's white, but the first time that they show like some sort of like weird reddish kind of tan isn't the bad guy. Like, the bad guy is allowed to have a tan. Like, it's the first dude that has a tan in creation. The bad guy. Come on. Like, I get like, maybe he's dead. Maybe he's white because he's dead. Dead people get white, right? But he's way darker than he used to be. Come on.
And is particularly used in reference to those who witness to the Lord's cause faithfully at the cost of suffering or death. Abel has the distinction of being God's first martyr. It is very remarkable that nearly all the martyrs have suffered at the hands of brethren. Thus, Jesus and the apostles received their persecution chiefly from Jewish brethren, sharers of the same blessed hopes and promises. How strange that it should be thus. Similarly, during this gospel age, Christians have suffered martyrdom at the hands of fellow Christians. Thus the scriptures foretold, saying, your brethren that hated you and that cast you out said,
Jesus, I guess this is the origins of the famous similarly for whenever Jehovah's Witnesses want to draw a parallel and want to make like a false equivalence. They're like, so Cain killed Abel. Similarly, the church has killed like true believers across the Catholic Church has killed true believers across the centuries. Like, what do you mean similarly? You mean because of the killing, or what else is similar?
the Lord be glorified, but he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. Every martyr, in proportion to his faithfulness, will ultimately receive a crown of life, while all persecutors will ultimately be ashamed. The reign of sin and death continued for 4,000 years before God sent his Son into the world to be its Redeemer and Deliverer. The Redeemer will set it free from bondage to sin and death, but he could not do so unless first he paid the death penalty, dying, the just for the unjust. During those 4,000 years, vague promises were given from time to time, but no start was made to fulfill them until Jesus appeared. Even those vague promises were confined to the Jewish nation. Outside nations, the Gentiles, received no promises of relationship to God. They were condemned sinners, and no hopes were held out to them. As St. Paul says, they were without hope, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenant of promise, having no hope, and without God in the world. For 6,000 years, according to St. Paul, we have had a reign of sin and death. Christians are
This is such a weird drawing. Like it's just like sort of like a photo over here, a photo over here, and then like somebody just drew like a fun skeleton here in the middle.
still praying for the blessed day of Messiah, for Satan's binding. Then blessings will displace sin, sorrow, and death. Sorrow and mourning begun.
Oh man,
The
let's hope we don't
first
get
death in Adam's family must have cast
let's hope we don't get how do you call it? Ad restricted because of the boobs. Because believe me, I've seen people get ad restricted for less.
the great shadow. The hope centered in the divine promise that the seed of the woman should bruise the serpent's head was temporarily snuffed out. Shortly after, Seth was born. His name indicates that his parents hoped that he would be the man promised of the Lord, not seeing that the promised one would be the Messiah, who would come long afterwards and for whose work the world still waits. Although we speak of this as the first death, we must not forget that from the divine standpoint, Adam and his race were already dead, in that none can regain everlasting life except through the Redeemer's work of sin atonement. At present, the population of the world consists of 1,600 million, 90,000 dying every day. It is undoubtedly fortunate for our fallen race that we cannot appreciate deeply the sorrows and difficulties of others. Each individual, each family, has about as large a share of sorrow as it can properly bear. Indeed, the poet, realizing the folly of unrestrained grief, has well sung, "Go bury thy sorrow. The world has its share. Go bury it deeply. Go hide it with care." Hope, joy, and peace come to us through the divine promise that the time is coming when there shall be no more sorrow or dying, no more sin or pain. For Messiah's kingdom shall conquer sin and death, and cause God's will to be done on earth as fully as it is now done in heaven. Our experiences with sin and its penalty should make us all sympathetic. We should do nothing to add to the sorrow of others, but everything to relieve. The words of Jesus touch this chord of sympathy. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." There is no
What happened to his voice? He was like, the words of Jesus, I lay the rest for us. And he says, come back to me, come to me. What happened? What happened?
rest for the weary of heart, except in union with Christ. Sons of God, daughters of men. Long before man's creation, angels were created. Yet sin was unknown until Adam's day. The beginning of sin, according to the Bible, was in the Garden of Eden. Lucifer, an angel of very high rank, had long cherished in his heart ambitious designs. If opportunity ever offered, he would show God and the angels his grand scheme. His thought is expressed by the prophet: "I would ascend above the stars, angels. I would be as the Most High, an emperor." When Lucifer beheld the first human pair, he was tempted to try his experiment. They were a new order of beings in God's moral image. They had procreative powers, which no angel possessed. Their offspring filling the earth would be his subjects, through whom he would work out his ambitious schemes. Thus Lucifer became Satan, God's opponent. All the holy angels were bewildered. His was the first rebellion against the Almighty's laws. No punishment followed, and the angels queried whether or not God was able to enforce his laws. Centuries rolled on. The human family was wasting. God's penalty, "Dying, thou shalt die," was gradually being enforced. Satan realized that his kingdom of dying subjects would make but a poor showing ever. He conceived a plan to outwit God and develop a new order of beings, hybridized humans, infused with superior vitality.
Wait, what? Where are the giants here? It says giant in those days. Like I'm assuming he's talking about the Nephilim. Which ones are the giants? Like is this one a giant? Or like they all look like the same. Like this one looks a little bit taller, but it looks like he's like on top of something, right? Where are the giant? I don't understand. Also, like, can you ride swans like this? Like I honestly, like, I've never tried. It looks like a lot of fun if you could. It doesn't seem like you could, especially if you're supposed to be a giant.
Satan realized that his kingdom of dying subjects would make but a poor showing ever. He conceived a plan to outwit God and develop a new order of beings, hybridized humans infused with superior vitality. The angels possessed the God-given power of materialization. They could appear in human bodies resembling those of men. The Bible attests this.
I've always found this kind of fun that the angels in biblical times, they could kind of like appear as a human, but only as a human man. Because what kind of like stupid angel we wanna appear like as a human female? Like that's just stupid. Obviously, you appear as the default, which is the man. It's all of these tiny bits that the Bible is sexist is just completely you don't really notice it when you're in a religion, but you really notice it when you're when you're not misogynist anymore. Like, why didn't the angels appear as women? Like, if anything, that sounds like a kind of like a cool angel, right? Like an angel that could do a lot of damage and could like hunt a lot of men and whatever, right? But no, angels appear as men.
Angels were committed contact with the fallen race to prove whether they could bring mankind back to God. The record of Genesis is that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, and they took unto themselves wives of all they preferred. Thus the angels became the fathers of a new race, distinct from Adam. The record is that these were giants, physically and intellectually, men of renown who filled the earth with violence.
I love how he said violence, who filled the earth with violence. Like, it's just. But again, like you didn't show us giants.
And they took unto them meat, distinct from Adam. The record is that these were giants, physically and intellectually.
Where?
Men of renown who filled the earth with violence.
Violence.
While the ark was preparing, the disloyal course of the angels apparently continued for centuries without any outward manifestation of God's ability to check.
Do you think Russell like misspoke, like when he said violence or when he said angel, but then he nervously like looks up from his speech in the recording, and then they're like, just keep going. We can't edit this. We don't have the technology yet.
Thus all the holy angels were tested, and all who chose were disobedient in the days of Noah. Noah's family was singled out as exceptional in the statement. Now Noah.
Thank you so much, Maxine. Between the entertaining chat here and then it's funny to commentary this the excitement fever. The excitement here is fever pitch, and I am sober at the moment. I'm very sad for you that you're sober, but I'm happy that you're having fun. Honestly, like I feel this is the best way to watch the photo drama of creation, right? While getting a little bit high, having a little bit of a chat, and just being nice to each other, because this is inherently, this is kind of funny, and it's kind of fascinating. Like I can't be the only one who finds this inherently fascinating. This was the religion that fucked many of us over, and this was the origins. This is how it started. So at least to me, like I would just be doing it by myself, just for me. But just doing it with you guys, it just becomes like far better immediately.
Noah was perfect in his generation, implying that few or no others were perfectly generated of pure Adamic stock. Noah's family, therefore, included all the uncontaminated, only 8 persons. They, by divine command, built the ark, and thus witnessed to the world the divine intention respecting a deluge. Noah's message respecting a divine judgment by a deluge seemed ridiculous. Until the deluge, there was no rain. The last of the great rings which then flooded the earth was of pure water. For centuries it was spread out over the firmament. The whole earth was a great hothouse. There were practically no changes of seasons nor storms, because the great water canopy preserved it in perpetual summer.
That's crazy! Did you hear what this guy just said? He said that what Noah preached, and this is something that, again, this is a vestigial doctrine that Jehovah's Witnesses have never gotten rid of. He said that what Noah preached sounded ridiculous because there hadn't even been rain back then. which is what a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses still believe. They believe that the deluge was the very first time that rain started, and that, as he said, the whole earth was in perpetual summer because this ring that he mentioned in the beginning, this ring of water around the earth. Well, I didn't know that he was still gonna mention this, which is why I mentioned in the beginning. That ring kept everything in like tropical conditions, which is obviously a historic. Like, we can prove it in so many different, like, there's literally ice that is older than this, like by millennia. So obviously this is false, but this is what Jehovah's Witnesses or Russell used to teach, and what a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses still believe in nowadays.
Of that period we read, for as yet there was no rain on the earth. Noah, the preacher of righteousness, was mocked and considered a fool because of his faith in God's word, just as others of the Lord's people at various times have been mocked by those who lack faith and are yet mocked. Finally, the deluge came. The fountains of the great canopy were broken up. The breaking of the canopy precipitated millions of tons of water at both poles, forming two great tidal waves, covering the earth for a great depth, deepening the ocean bed, and throwing up additional mountains.
Deepening the what? How do you deepen the ocean's depth? Like, it's a rock. Like, if you take a rock, right? Like, you can't deepen the rock without removing part of the rock away, right? You can just deepen it. Like, that thing's gonna, like, that's matter is gonna go somewhere, right? But no, apparently, the deluge came when the canopy of water that was around when the earth formed. Like, remember, the last of the rings that earth had, it just precipitated in the form of a deluge, and then it made the seas deeper and the mountains higher as well. I guess that's how he gets away with saying that it kind of went away afterwards, because the mountains were higher and then the seas were deeper. Therefore, everything kind of remained the same. It's just now everything was just higher, and the extra water was in the deeper ocean. That just makes absolutely zero sense.
Cradle of the world is supposed to have been in Armenia. Geology tells us that the land of that vicinity was at one time a quiet settling pond, as evidenced by heavy alluvial deposits. In this vicinity, the ark floated, and by divine protection landed on Mount Ararat, its precious freight for the world's new star.
What? What is this? Did they? It says, and Noah opened the window of the ark and sent forth dove to stop. Sorry, I'm way too slow. They had to make like a whole dramatization about this? No wonder this is expensive. And the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. Just lower a little bit, because it's bad music, bad recording. Okay, that's Noah just being like, "Oh, hello, dove. Oh, there's a little bit of olive, huh? You can have brought some wheat." And God spake into Noah, saying, "Go forth of the ark, go, and thy wife, and thy sons, something else." And then we see Santa Claus with his family. And then just like all of the birds, that's all of the birds that were in the ark. those 15 birds that came out, those were all of the birds. Jesus, even the birds were bad back then. That is a bad beard if I've ever seen one. Like I can't believe that is like a permanent fixture in the Jehovah's Witness lore. Just bad beards, even when they were allowed to have beards. It's just Noah and the bow shall in the cloud, and I will look upon it, and I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature that is upon the earth. Man, they are just so slow. Wouldn't you be like out and about already, like cooking or something? Oh, I guess this is when Noah made the sacrifice to God. He was like, I know that the animals are tight at the moment. We literally just have like the ones that fit in this box over here. But we need to, like, Jehovah loves, or God loves how animal burnt smells like burnt animal smells like. He fucking loves that shit. So we need to kill a few. What are they praying?
Nephilim destroyed. The account of the fall of the angels from being sons of God to be demons helps us to understand why God decreed the deluge to wipe out all of the human race except Noah and his family. We perceive that God from the first intended to deal only with Adam and his family. The giant sons of the fallen angels, Nephilim, came into being contrary to the divine will. Hence, properly, no provision was to be made for them. They never had a right to life, nor will they have a resurrection. On the other hand, all of Adam's posterity, redeemed by Jesus' death, must be recovered from death, with full opportunity to secure everlasting life. After the deluge, the demon angels dematerialized, resumed their spirit condition. St. Peter and St. Jude reveal the penalty inflicted upon them. Those angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, spirit condition, God...
By the way, I'm pretty sure all of the transitions are added. Like, remember, this is not like the original version. This is the remaster version. I'm pretty sure, the original transition would just be like a slide, right? But they just like these transitions were not the original transitions. They're just part of the remaster version, where which is why like it looks so nice and smooth. I'm pretty sure it's just to hide the changing of slides.
Restrained under chains, restraints of darkness, under the judgment of the great day. The liberties of the fallen angels, demons, were restrained. They are unable to use deceptions in the light, unable to materialize as formerly. Note, however, that the limitation unto implies that when the great day of wrath shall come, these fallen angels will be permitted to materialize and become potent factors in the strife. Other scriptures indicate that these fallen angels will have much to do with the great...
Weird that they are still using saints, huh? Like, this is... I wonder when they got... when the saints stuff got they got away with, because obviously if you say Saint Paul in a congregation right now, you're gonna get a lot of looks. That's not how you're supposed to say it.
Time of trouble with which this age will close, and in which Messiah's kingdom will be inaugurated. These fallen angels were cast to Tartarus, our earth's atmosphere. Satan, a cherub angel of higher rank, is styled the prince of demons. They are not in some far-off place stoking fires, but keep as close to humanity as possible. Not permitted to materialize, they seek to obsess, to demonize by clairvoyance and clairaudience. Mankind would properly resent them if their true character were known. They therefore personate the dead, communicating through spirit mediums. The end of that age. In the scriptures, the expression end of the world is frequently used. St. Peter tells us that the world came to an end in the deluge. It was not the earth which came to an end, merely that order or condition of things which prevailed prior to the deluge ceased there. A new world, a new order of things was there ushered in. This is in strict accordance with the proper translation of the Greek. The common translation, unfortunately, has deceived many. We would better read end of the age, not end of the world. Ages may end and be succeeded by other ages, but the Bible declares that the earth abideth forever, that God formed it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. It has never been thoroughly habitable, nor has it ever been inhabited in the proper sense of the term. The work of Messiah's kingdom will be to make God's footstool glorious and fit for those restored to his favor. His further work will be to uplift man and restore him to all that was lost in Eden and redeemed at Calvary. He will destroy only the incorrigible. In the new order of things started by Noah and his family, God allowed humanity to have its way and to work out its own schemes without divine interference, except in extreme cases. He allowed the world to learn lessons while he carried out his own great plan, of which redemption is the center and Messiah's kingdom the circumference for the recovery of mankind from their fallen estate. The development of God's plan has been long from the human standpoint, but not so.
Jesus, they were like, we really need to show that a lot of people died. Like, weren't there like 200 people back then? Like, how are there so many dead? Like, it's like it is so many at this point. Like, how did the ark landed like where a lot of dead people were? Like, it's crazy. But anyway, this is what I never liked, and it never made sense to me as a Jehovah's Witness, because as a Jehovah's Witness, you are to think that this whole thing, this whole bad system of things, is not what God wanted. God wanted paradise, right? But there was the issue of sovereignty, where Satan was like, "Hey, why don't I get to rule? Maybe I would be able to do it better." So then, what God was like, "All right, I guess you can do it. I guess let's see if you can do it better. And then once you've proven that you can't do it better, then I'll come in and destroy you." But then Satan starts ruling, and apparently, like most humans love it. He's winning. So God is like, actually, I'm just gonna reset the game just with my followers, so I have a better chance of winning. So he just resets the game very early on, and then even then he doesn't get rid of evil or anything. Satan still wins. Like, that just shows a very petty and stupid God, right? Like, especially with the interpretation of the Jehovah's Witnesses, because not everybody believes in the issue of sovereignty. I'm pretty sure this is almost exclusive to the Jehovah's Witness, right? So the issue of sovereignty is kind of stupid when you consider the deluge in context.
From the divine, for we read, 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday, and again, a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. During 6 of these 1,000-year days, in which he rests or desists from interfering with the world's affairs, God has permitted a reign of evil, but his arrangements are complete, whereby Messiah, the Redeemer.
I'm maybe kind of high, but don't you feel this is kind of nice? This is kind of beautiful, right? Like, I know, like, this didn't happen, obviously, but like just to picture like this man after the deluge, just like starting to see like this whole earth, like just like this view. I don't know, it's kind of majestic. They obviously had a lot of constraints, but I feel like the whole composition and the way that they played with white to simulate how light behaves, I think it's really on.
Will fully restore all the willing and obedient to all that Adam forfeited. The rainbow pledge. When Noah and his family came out.
Oh, come on. Like, you could. I was just saying how nice the drawings were. You could. Like, that's the base rainbow you got? Are you kidding me? That sounds like someone threw up Skittles. Like, it looks terrible. That is the worst rainbow I've ever seen. Kids draw better rainbows. Kids, like, as soon as they learn how to draw, you give them some crayons, they will draw a better rainbow than that. That's just disgusting.
They acknowledged God by offering to him a sacrifice, and God pledged the rainbow as a sign that he would.
Also, what are they wearing? How are they wearing like these complicated printed patterns in like like if they are just they went back to the Stone Age. These are like what the hell? Like this looks like something you got from Macy's in 1970. You know, like it even looks too futuristic for 1914, let alone for what it's supposed to be depicting. This is crazy.
Never again destroy mankind by a flood of waters. A
It's a
rainbow
better
was
rainbow.
never seen before that time, for the reason given in the Bible. There had been no rain. Furthermore, the
See, like obviously, it's not like Jehovah's Witnesses are anti-scientific. You know, they know obviously it's not like that was the first rainbow because before it rained, but there wasn't a rainbow somehow. Obviously, you know, that's not how it happened. It's just there was a first rainbow because it was the first time it had rained. So, you know, first time it rained, first rainbow. And the first rainbow was like, okay. Was God saying, okay, I know now that I resetted the game and just left alive the players that are on my side because Satan was winning, I will never do this. Like, I swear, I will never do this. Not destroying everybody. I will do this again, but I won't do this by drowning. All right, I won't do this again. I swear.
sun's rays did not directly strike the earth, but merely through the canopy, with much the same effect as that of a hothouse. Many changes were brought about by the removal of the canopy. Rains, floods, droughts, thunderstorms, tornadoes, extremes of heat and cold. These things were impossible under the canopy. Noah's intoxication is accounted for along these lines. The juice of the grape had not previously fermented. Hence Noah could not have known of its intoxicating effect. With the collapse of the watery envelope came the extreme heat of the tropics and the extreme cold of the polar regions before the ocean currents modified them. The change must have been almost instantaneous. We have proof of this. In northern Siberia, an antelope was found embedded in ice. It had green grass in its stomach, which proved that its death occurred suddenly while it was feeding. Similarly, a mastodon was found embedded in ice with food between its teeth. Thus is demonstrated that the poles were once as equable as the temperate zone.
Wait, so the deluge is proven to happen like 4,000 years ago because they've encountered mastodons that stopped being around like, I don't know, 6,000 years ago with food in their mouths, immediately frozen. So if they had food in their mouths and they had been frozen to death that fast, the only way that they had been frozen to death that fast is because of the deluge? What? I don't even understand the argument.
And that in a moment came such a change as could be brought about only by the breaking of the canopy. The great glaciers and heavy ice of the Arctic regions, formed thus suddenly, have existed for centuries. The water did not all congeal into ice, but like a tidal wave carried great glaciers and boulders across the North American continent and northwestern Europe, as scientists have clearly traced. They cut through hills with such force that they have left their mark for all time. Equatorial.
What the hell is this look of Earth? Glacial period, general view. This is how it looked like when it was a glacial period. Just like this slob of ice over here that just covered Canada. just a little bit of the United States though. Mexico, mostly fine. It was still tropical down there. It's always tropical.
The currents, the Gulf Stream and the Japan Stream have since thawed out much of the polar ice. Demigods of Greece and Egypt. Long
What? We're gonna learn where Adam is buried? That's crazy.
have the learned wondered what foundation Grecian mythology might have had. Now, taking heed to the sure word of God, we perceive that the angels who materialized before the flood were the gods of mythology, while their offspring, the giants, were the demigods. The suggestion may well start a flood of reflection in thinking minds. Egyptologists have been astonished by their findings in the tombs of the pharaohs. In some of these, historic tablets have been found, tracing the ancestry of the pharaohs apparently back to creation.
This is the pyramidology that we were talking about, that Russell believed in. Let's see what he has to say about the pyramids in the photodrama of creation. This is crazy. This is I didn't think that we would get all of the greatest hits literally like right out of the gate in the first part.
The first Pharaoh, Adam. But these tablets show so many more generations than the Bible records that Egyptologists lose all faith in the Genesis account. They become higher critics, discount the Bible records, and pin their faith to the Egyptian tablets. They confess, however, that these tablets vary and more or less contradict each other. Conceitedly, the most accurate is the Abydos tablet, found in the sepulchre of Seti I, probably the pharaoh who made Joseph his prime minister and who is supposed to have died about 120 years before Moses was born. The chief fault found with this tablet is that it is not so lengthy as some of the others. Nevertheless, Pharaoh Seti I preserved this tablet for us with great care. He sank a shaft 60 feet deep through solid rock. At that level, his masons cut out the stone staircase on which the Abydos tablet is portrayed. An exact copy of it is to be found in the British Museum. At considerable expense and with difficulty, we have secured the photograph of it, which we here present. Our object is to show that this best of Egyptian records fully corroborates the Genesis account. This list of pharaohs is shorter than the others because it omits the names of gods and demigods. It is the complete Egyptian record of the purely human line of rulers back to Adam.
This kind of makes sense if you place it in the time. At the time, they had just this, like, it hadn't been that long since they had discovered the Rosetta Stone, since they had been able to interpret a lot of like Egyptian hieroglyphics and learned a whole bunch of things all of a sudden from like Egypt, like this very, very, very ancient civilization that just so happens to be mentioned in the Bible. So it makes sense that people were looking into what they could find from Egypt that could kind of like validate their own views. At least it's kind of, I mean, I'm saying it makes sense. It makes sense to me. Maybe that's how it happened. I don't know if that's how it happened, but you know, everything that we discover, every time that we discover new things, religious people are like, how can we make this about my religion? And I think Russell did the same thing with Egyptology.
Furthermore, these omissions occurred at the appropriate place at the time of the deluge. Adam, Mina, was Pharaoh first. The Abydos tablet fully agrees with Genesis and is often corroborated by the Greek and Egyptian historians Herodotus and Manetho. It shows Adam as the first pharaoh and Noah the 20th, while the intermediate 18 correspond with Genesis with remarkable accuracy.
It shows. Wait. What? The Abydos tablet. Okay, I have no idea what the Abydos tablet is, but I don't think it shows Adam as the first one, right? Yeah, there you go. Look, this is Wikipedia. I know Wikipedia isn't like the best one, but come on, like it's the Egyptology. Like, who is trolling over here, changing definitions? And yeah, I mean, the first dynasty, it starts with Menes, and then there's no mention to Adam. Is there anything? There's literally nothing about Adam. It's just let's just read what the Abydos Kings List is. The Abydos Kings List, also known as the Abydos Table, is a list of the names of 76 kings of ancient Egypt found on a wall of the temple of Seti the First at Abydos, Egypt. It consists of 3 rows of 38 cartouches, borders enclosing the name of a king in each row. The upper 2 rows contain names of the kings, while the 3rd row merely repeats Seti's first throne name and nomen. So, yeah, I just had to confirm because I had never heard of it. But yeah, there's obviously what Russell is saying is obviously not the case. This tablet doesn't say that Adam was the first pharaoh. Like, what? Adam was the first pharaoh? Isn't like pharaoh like a king? What would have Adam ruled over? Like, who would have Adam ruled over? His wife, who was his clone?
Mina's wife was Shesh, Hebrew Isha, woman. Her first son was Pharaoh II, Greek Peter Kent, guilty one, Hebrew Carnegie, Latin Athos, English Cain. The tablet for Abel represents him as the non-resistant one. The Abydos tablet shows the same order as Moses. giving first the line of Cain down to Jabal, who was taken.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. We just read the About Us tablet. It has nothing to do with anyone mentioned in the Bible. It has Menes, Oraha, Jed, Den, Anajib, Semerket. It doesn't have anyone from the Bible.
Time, evidently, the gods and demigods began to fill the earth with violence. Cetai's list omits the names of these. All demigods were destroyed in the deluge. Noah is next in order with a regal title. But since he was not of Cain's family, the Abidas tablet there goes back, mentions Abel and Seth's line, just as given in Genesis, untitled, down to Noah. These all, as pharaohs, have their royal ovals, but no super titles. After Noah, Nofru, Pharaoh 20th, the line runs through his son Ham, Chemu Chufu. Appropriately, Noah's other sons are ignored, for Shem and Japheth went to Asia and Europe, while only Ham went to Egypt. Thus wonderfully is the Bible being vindicated by the very inscriptions once supposed to contradict it.
What? So that's where the races came from? Like this is teaching like where the races came from, from Ham, Japheth, and Shem. And so they went to different parts of the earth, and that's why this guy looks like this, and this guy looks like it. They look different because of Noah. Makes sense.
Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. Besides this, he was Jehovah's prophet, and so certified by Jesus. Although Moses lived 2,000 years after Adam, history connected up very close to his time. From Adam to Moses, there were but 5 intermediaries: Methuselah, Shem, Isaac, Levi, Amram, whose lives overlapped by periods ranging from 31 years to 243 years, as shown in our diagram.
See, you didn't know this, but some Bible characters overlap on their lives for a couple of hundred years. They were alive at the same time for a couple of centuries. This is why you need to read the Bible according to Jehovah's Witnesses, because you wouldn't have known about this.
The Tower of Babel. Years after the deluge, the world began to be populous. The narrative handed down by Noah and his sons was more or less forgotten, and the bow of promise lost much of its significance. Losing confidence in God, the people began the construction of the Tower of Babel, which was to save them in spite of God from any flood of waters of the future. Alas, how short-sighted. Like others who possess much worldly wisdom, the scriptures deprecate such lack of faith among Christians and attempt to protect themselves and their earthly interests, leaving God and his plan out of their calculations. Some today ignore God after this manner, saying, "Trust not in the Lord for the things promised. If you wait for God to do for you, nothing will ever be done." In other words, we are living in a day when faith in the divine will and in the divine plan and promises seems to be on the wane. God settled the matter by confounding the language and scattering the people so that they could not cooperate in further foolish undertakings. The Bible refers...
This is why Jehovah's Witnesses don't really talk about this anymore, because this is also, like, Genesis is just filled with these stupid, ridiculous stories that as a Jehovah's Witness, you have to believe are part of history. You have to believe that at some part of history, all of the humans were working together to make a tower to go very high. And God hated that shit. God hated that shit so much that he made them speak different languages so they couldn't work together in a common goal. And you have to admire God for it. That has to be like your loving God. It's a God that doesn't want you to build a building that is too high. But then again, like, he never did this again. We've even gone to the moon and shit. He never did this again. He just did this like this one time. He was like, this is way too early. I don't like this. But then if you do this like in a couple of millennia, then I'll be fine with it. I'll be fine with it. I don't know. It's just inherently ridiculous.
To this saying, he hath determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek the Lord, if haply they might feel after him and find him. The diversity of languages is one of the most remarkable things in the world, an effectual barrier to prevent mankind from combining the accomplishment of their own purposes.
BJLA B says he hated it so much that today we have the Burj Khalifa. Yeah, but you know, the Burj Khalifa, doesn't even have like a sewer system. Like you have to get like poop trucks to get all the poop out like every day. So the Burj Khalifa already has its own little hell because of because of its existence. So you know.
Selfish or sinful, it has delayed the great day of wrath. Now the language barriers are breaking down, and we find the tendency of humanity to reunite. Unions and trusts are being built by the rich and the poor, each for self-protection. The rule of kings and princes is threatened by the growth of common language and intelligence in the masses. Had these barriers been removed 2,000 years ago, similar results would have come too soon, according to the divine purpose, which is shaping Earth's affairs in preparation for Messiah's kingdom, which will bless the entire human family. Abraham, God's friend. Abraham became the friend of God by his manifestation of faith, when in response to God's invitation, he left his own country and wandered in Canaan. By his obedience, he became heir of the promise. In thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. St. Paul explains that Abraham's wife represented this covenant or promise. Sarah's barrenness corresponded to the long-deferred coming of Christ in fulfillment of the promise. Isaac typified Messiah, the heir of the promise. Isaac's bride, Rebekah, typified the elect church, the bride of Christ, and his joint heir in the promise. St. Paul says that Hagar typified the law covenant made with Israel at Mount Sinai, and that the nation of Israel was typified in Ishmael. As Hagar and Ishmael were cast off when Isaac was born and had almost perished, so the Jewish people have been cast off from divine favor for 18 centuries, and today are nearly vanished. As the angel of God pointed to the fountain of water, and Ishmael was revived, so God's message now is pointing the Jews to a spring of water. Their Zionistic hopes are reviving. The sacrifice of Isaac typified the sacrifice of Christ, necessary in order for him to become the spiritual seed of Abraham with power to bless the world.
That's crazy. Like I didn't know that this whole like thing that I guess it became the types and anti-types belief that they got rid of afterwards. Like it went all the way back to Russell. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses believed in types and anti-types, which basically is way of looking at things in the Old Testament as having like two fulfillments. Like anything that happened in the Old Testament also represents a thing in the New Testament or like in the future, right? Which is how you can just spin anything in the New Testament, in the Old Testament, to just agree with your religion. And this is one of those things that they believe was exemplified in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, Abraham's sacrifice was supposed to be like this type, an anti-type of. It was like a proto Jesus sacrifice. Like Abraham did this, so it would resonate, I guess, later when God did the same thing to Jesus. That's why Abraham did this, because God did the same thing to Jesus later. So this is a type and anti-type. Like this, the fact that Abraham did this represents what God was going to do later. And I didn't know that it was this kind of belief was this old. I'm going to close this window because there's a lot of light coming from here.
The servant sent to call Rebekah, the bride of Isaac, is beautifully explained to represent the work of the Holy Spirit in calling the church to become the bride of Christ and his associate in the great work of blessing Israel and all the families of the earth. Rebekah's return with Eliezer represents the church's journey during this gospel age to meet Christ, the bridegroom who will receive her at his second advent. Abraham typifies Jehovah God, through whose promise the blessing of all the families of earth will come. This promise has been the hope of Israel for 35 centuries.
God did test Abraham, which kind of indicates to me that if his son had to be tied up, maybe that sounds like his son didn't want to be involved in getting killed for God, right? Am I wrong? Where is the sacrifice? My son would. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, this is when Isaac is like, "Hey, so where is the sacrifice?" And Abraham is like, "God will provide the sacrifice, son. Don't worry about this. Let me just tie you up for no reason." So he's like, anyway, let me hug you goodbye for no reason before I tie you up. My dear son, God has directed that you shall be his lamb. That's not on the Bible, is it? You know, when you really don't believe in God, this is extra bad. You know, this is just a guy listening to voices in his head and then just his kid just playing along. This is horrible. Like this is a bad story. This is why a lot of Christians don't really go into the Old Testament anymore. Maxim again with another nugget of information saying shaky film probably because of sticky, deteriorating nitrate-based motion picture film, which I obviously knew. And I was just gonna tell you, but I mean, I'm giving a chance to Maxim to say this because the show, it's fun. No, please keep coming. I didn't know why all films were shaky. But yeah, a lot of all films were. I didn't know why. Why are you not hiding this? Okay, no. Good thing his voices, like the voices in Abraham's head, told him to not do it at the end. You know, like good thing. Thank God. And I love that God is so bloodthirsty. Like it's so horny for blood that he's like, hey, the fact that Isaac doesn't get killed does not mean that nobody gets killed today. Like somebody has to die today. Like I'm a God of death.
Declaring that bread must be won by sweat of faith. These conditions were conducive to the selfishness and sin which the Bible charges: pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. And they committed abomination. Therefore I took them away as I saw good. God saw good to make the destruction of the Sodomites an example of the fate of sinners. Death, not everlasting torture, St. Jude says. Jesus declares, fire came down from God out of heaven and destroyed them all. But the Bible teaches that the Sodomites are not hopelessly destroyed, that God's mercy through Christ includes the Sodomites, sinners though they were. Jesus himself, as well as the prophet Ezekiel, declares that at his second coming in his messianic kingdom, he will give a trial or judgment to the world in general, to all who do not have an opportunity in the present life. The Sodomites will then have opportunity to hear of God's grace, to accept and rejoice in it. Jesus declared that in that glorious epoch, the condition of the Sodomites will be more tolerable than that of the people to whom he preached at his first advent. The reason for this he explained, saying that if the Sodomites had been granted the same opportunity afforded the people of Chorazin.
Every time that they mention Lot and his daughters, I'm like, are they even gonna mention how like they banged him? Like they kind of like, you know, they did the R word on him while he was drunk, even though that's not how it works. Because they were like, what if we don't get impregnated? I really want to get impregnated now. And you know, like it was a righteous thing, obviously. Like I think even the Jehovah's Witnesses, who are apologists for every single verse, even they like to skip that verse, you know?
Bethsaida and Capernaum, they would have repented in sackcloth and ashes. Wherefore, in the future testing time, it will be more tolerable for them than for people who heard and rejected the message. Ezekiel's prophecy is most explicit. It declares restitution and blessing for Israel, and incidentally mentions that the Sodomites will receive favor from God at the same time, under the new covenant, under Messiah's kingdom. There is a wideness in God's mercy, like the wideness of the sea.
Please accept from the IBSA a thesis, free. The ushers will now offer them. Take one from the card and pass the card to your neighbor. The picture on the tin represents the boy Jesus and your wearing the pin will signify that you wish to be.
I love
a
that.
Thomas
I
Pin.
love that. You know, they didn't. It was free, but they still asked for money. Like they were like, still give us money though, because this is supported by voluntary contributions. So please give us money.
The IBSA pays no official salary. Every penny goes into the work. The IBSA furnishes the drama complete, without cost, to all cities providing suitable auditoriums, ushers, etc. The art feature of the drama represents much money and great care in the reproducing and coloring. The value of the drama to you will be doubled by the study of the literature, which gives the Bible references not mentioned by the oral lecture. All are welcome to a copy in folder form free. It is obtainable in substantial binding, profusely illustrated. Ask the ushers. Many of you have the IBSA book, Studies in the Scriptures. They will be doubly valuable to you after seeing this drama.
And that is the first part out of 4 of the photo drama of creation. That was extremely interesting. We saw a lot of things, like how they thought the creation went. I don't know. Oh, I guess part 2 is gonna go. Oh my God, part 2 is gonna go into pyramids to Babylonian captivity. So we actually saw the whole creation, and it didn't take that long for us to realize why, even though Jehovah's Witnesses love to brag about this, most Jehovah's Witnesses have never seen it because, well, first of all, it's very long, and second, it's extremely not only anti-biblical but whatever Jehovah's Witnesses believe right now. This is a really, 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 really interesting watch. So. Let me know below what you thought of this. Remember, I'm gonna be reacting to these all 4 parts throughout the month leading up to Christmas, and I'm hoping I can do also like a Christmas little live stream with a lot of people. I don't know because right now I'm also in the middle of moving. We finally found a house, and if you were wondering, because I spoke about this, so we finally found a house. We're closing. We're almost closing in. We're about to like pay and go through like all of the stuff. So I'm also going to be moving, and that just takes a lot of time and effort. So I'm trying to get things together the best thing I can, the best way I can. But I'm hoping that I can, get together with a few ex-Jehovah's Witnesses on Christmas, just check up on them and see what they think of Christmas. And because I know that a lot of people don't really have people to spend Christmas with, so I'd love to, have a little live stream, a little Christmas live stream for us, because if I'm honest, like I love spending Christmas with my partner and with my dog, but we're not really going to spend Christmas with anybody else. So I feel like, hey, well, why not having a little bit of a get together, at least online, for anyone who is not with their family, or for anyone who is with their family, but they don't really like their family. That's also okay. The governor says, and again, the Sodomites will be resurrected. Yes, that's true. The Sodomites will be resurrected, and as well as you, if you repent right after you see that every other religion has fallen, as we saw with the New Light. So yeah, subscribe to that. Remember, XJW Panda, we're probably, maybe he can do it, and if he can do it, that's fine. But it sounds like he's going to be able to join me for next week. So subscribe to that one. I also have a video that is going up either tomorrow or the day after at the latest. It's a video that I've been working on for the past couple of months about how Jehovah's Witnesses lie, and it's just a very deep dive and a very like brainy dive into how Jehovah's Witnesses lie, because Jehovah's Witnesses believe that they are the most like honest people in the world, but that's obviously not the case. They lie literally all the time. So yeah. Subscribe if you want to see that. Thank you so much to everyone who supported me. Thank you so much to everyone who viewed this. And yeah, that's it. That's the end of the stream. Okay, goodbye.